Hey, somebody's got to find my big cereal bowl. The gallon-sized one. You did? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You're listening to the Professional Noticer. Here, you and I will use all the common sense and wisdom we can muster to move beyond what is true and go all the way to the truth. With actual listeners in more than 100 countries, I am the Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today, and with every show we do, is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life you would live by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. Our sponsor this week is Kamado Joe. You know, Kamado Joe is my grill. I mean, this isn't just a line of products. It's what happens when two guys who love to grill get serious about creating the world's best ceramic cooker. Better quality, smarter features, more innovative accessories. That's the story of Kamado Joe. And those two guys, I know them both, okay? The heart of this business isn't a business. It's a community of people who love the same thing that everyone in the Kamado Joe company loves, cooking outside with their friends and for their friends and their family. And that passion is just a fire that fuels Kamado Joe every day in everything we do. You know, from the earliest days, the focus was on solving problems that the other grills hadn't or that they couldn't, so that people could get more out of grilling. Kamado Joe does not settle. It's a commitment. It's clear in everything from the features of the flagship grills to the size of that massive lump charcoal. It's unbelievable. Crafted to perform better and last longer. A simple, uncompromising quality standard that drives everything they do at Kamado Joe. That's Kamado Joe Grills. Check them out at your local retailer or at KamadoJoe.com. Observations and answers, that's what we do here on the Professional Noticer. And our commitment to you is to bring you the very best. And I must just brag on myself here just for a second and say that I have overdone myself this week. I've just outdone myself because I'm bringing you not just the very best, but the very, very best. And this is a longtime friend of mine. You know this person, and I will get into some of the awards and accomplishments, but please welcome Don Reid, the lead singer of the Statler Brothers. Don, how are you?
I am great, Andy, and I thank you for having me. You and I are communicating all the time, email and telephone, that sort of thing, but I don't get to see you often. So now I'm actually seeing you today.
I know. Man, I think about you so much, and obviously we do. We text and email back and forth, and I'm blown away at your ability to write long form. You know, because you've written so many songs for the Statlers through the years, but then when you guys said, okay, we're not going to do this anymore, we're just going to take it easy, we're going to retire, you didn't take it easy, you started writing books.
Yeah. And you know, the biggest adjustment there was, for 40 years, I had taught myself how to write a story 3 minutes long and make it rhyme. That's what you work on. And
right.
Then I started, and the first book publisher said, well, you've got 300 pages to tell your story, go for it. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's not how my mind is trained. I had to rethink the whole thing all over again.
It is amazing. You know, Jimmy Yeary, the songwriter, is a very close friend of mine. And I am amazed just watching that process and knowing, you know, I have like 60, 80,000 words to kind of get to the point. And You guys have to get to the point so quickly and make it rhyme. Is that something, I know some of it had to come naturally to you when you were younger, but how did you develop that?
We developed it, and I speak for myself and my brother and all the other staff, by listening to other songwriters. We would just sit for hours and listen to music all day long. And we would pick out some of the old pop guys, whether it's Berlin or whoever it was, or the country writers, Arlen Howard, and you learn by listening and dissecting and analyzing what they were doing. and then you try to emulate that, and then you come up with your own style in the process.
See, that's interesting to me because I think too. People ask about being a writer of books, and I don't think you can do it well if you're not a big reader. If you know to see how it's done, and man, you have done it. And let me just say, this is the first time we've been face to face since Harold passed away, and that was that. I know it was a tough time for you guys, but that was a tough day for me too. I just loved your brother.
Well, everybody did, and he was my closest friend, my brother, my confidant, and I put even more in the new book about him. And it's I miss him more every day, to be quite honest. But I realize that that's how it's supposed to be. That was God's will, and we have continued on. And he was certainly at peace with his life and throughout his life and at the end. And I am just so happy and so proud. As I've said before, maybe the bravest man I ever knew, the way he handled it.
You know, Harold was one of those kind of people. I see a lot of people that somebody will say, well, they're so funny, they should be a comedian. But you and I know there's a big difference in being funny for your friends and being funny consistently and making that what you're doing for the 100th time have that illusion of spontaneity. And man, there was nobody better than Harold at that.
Well, I have to agree with you. He was, and we realized that. And as you know, you certainly have that knack too, that you think funny. Harold always said comedy was saying what's on everybody else's mind.
Right.
And that's kind of how he operated, because you see something, you think, well, but I'm not going to say that. Well, he would say it. He would say what other people was thinking. And you know yourself, and sometimes with a comedy routine, you do that, and people are just in the floor. So they think, oh man, I'm saying the same thing. And he just said it. So.
Right. Oh my gosh. The new book that you have out, I talked about it the other day on the Blue Plate special, because I must be totally out of the loop, but I didn't even know you were working on that. And, you know, there was one time that I called you and I said, man, come on now, where's another book? Because I love the fiction books that you did. And so now here is this anthology that has every single one. I mean, the stories behind those songs. How long did it take you to do this?
I think probably about 2 years from the time I actually sat down and wrote the first word until it was finished and sent to publishing. And the whole sort of a challenge from my sons. My two sons, Dee and Langdon, and I eat lunch every Wednesday together. That's been ever since I retired. That's our standard procedure. And we have his favorite restaurant we go to. And they got to talk, and we got to tell them stories. They said, you need to put a book. And we came up with the idea, they came up with the idea of writing about our music. And I said, I don't know if I got enough to say about that. Well, I said, and after a couple of chapters, I realized that, well, maybe I do. So that's where that's what was born from, just conversation.
You know, to me, and I'll tell you, I'm halfway through the book right now. I mean, I just got it, and I'm not skimming this one. I'm reading every word, and I'm halfway through it, and I love it. But it also occurs to me that tons of people are going to love this. But if nobody ever read it, what a great gift to your sons. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
And
then to the fans. And I kind of, somewhere in there, I think it might have been at the forward or maybe to the end, I make a challenge to other artists to do this with their music. I mean, think about your favorite artist, your favorite recording artist, be it Johnny Cash or Dean Martin or whoever it might have been or whoever it is. And you think, wouldn't it have been nice if they had sat down and told the stories of their career and why they did this and that. So I challenge all the acts that have been in the business for so many years. Do that for your fans. It'll do something for your heart also.
Yeah, because this is not only the story of writing each song, it's the story of recording it and what was happening and the people that were in your life at that time. my wife Polly, she just loves Johnny Cash. I mean, she's always loved Johnny Cash. And so I said, well, yeah, you like Johnny Cash, you're going to want to read Don's book right away because there's so many stories in there. And, the story of June giving you that antique music stand as you guys left the house that day.
Yeah.
There are things that we would never know.
Yeah. They were great people, John and June. If without them, there would have been no Statler Brothers. John picked us up off the road and gave us a job for 9 years, and we were there and did everything. We learned everything from him, all of his TV, all of his records, all of his concerts. So we were very close with him, and he was quite something to us.
Tell me about, now that John and June are gone, you can act mad about this if you want to, but tell me about the time that you guys were ready to record Daddy Sang Bass, and you went over and John's going to record it, and you got to back him up on it.
Exactly. Well, we were in the room with Carl Perkins one night when he wrote it, while he was writing it. And so we got to do it, and we said, no, we got to have that song. He said, it's yours. Well, about 2 weeks later, John called us, says, come into Nashville, because we were still living in Virginia. Come to Nashville, I'm recutting tomorrow. Okay, so we fly to Nashville, and that's the song he's got. We said, whoa, I thought we were going to record that. But he had heard it, and Carl gave it to him. And I don't blame Carl. We weren't all that big an act at the time. And so John got the record, and we wound up singing on it. But we recorded it later for an album.
One of the things that I was able to do, I mean, having known you guys for so long and having sat in so many award shows that you guys just wore your legs out back and forth up on the stage, and the winner is the Statler Brothers. I mean, my gosh, how many times did I hear that? This is the first time I've ever actually counted, and you guys were, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm counting 9 times the CMA Vocal Group of the Year. 9 times.
Exactly. Yeah. We were blessed, and it's all I can tell you. We were blessed, and we were thankful. And every year, whatever award it was always more special than the one before, because they think the people still were giving that to them.
But see, Don, you say that you were blessed, but I would look at that. I watched you guys, and I think that part of the reason you were blessed is because you guys really blessed so many people, and you were grateful. You guys never showed. I never saw a hint of arrogance or dismissiveness. And I was an opening act, right? And so as an opening act, I mean, there are people that I don't have great stories about. But you guys, I always tell people, I say, the Statlers, they treated me just like they treated some star long before I had ever earned any right to be treated nicely or as peers by these guys. And you guys blessed a ton of people.
We always liked you first. We always tried to treat everybody the same. I think the four of us, we kept each other level and grounded.
Right.
We were just 4 guys that grew up together back in Virginia. And that's how we always thought of ourselves, no matter whatever was being, bestowed on us throughout the world. We were always thankful for that and flattered by that. But we knew who we were inside, and that didn't change.
I'm curious about the song Flowers on the Wall. I've always been curious about that song. And it's one of my favorites. I mean, not just of yours. It's just one of my favorites. And so I'm very curious about that song. Because I think maybe more so now, because I know when you guys won the Grammy for that song, and now I know who else was in the category. Oh my gosh. I mean, the Supremes, Stop in the Name of Love, the Beatles, Help, and the winner is Flowers on the Wall, the Statler Brothers. Oh, I mean,
we were brand new and green and were not expected to win. I promise you, we were just as shocked as everybody else was.
So, and that song, that song, you know, there are some songs that you hear that you think, you know, it sounds like it's from the 60s, or it sounds like it's from, I mean, that is not a song that sounds dated. And a lot of people may not be aware that song was used in Pulp Fiction, in the movie, in Quentin Tarantino's movie.
Exactly.
With Bruce Willis driving along, and flowers on it. And I love it. Bruce Willis goes, Captain Kangaroo. I mean, what a great tribute to you guys. Tell me what was behind that song, though.
What was behind it?
Yeah.
Lou wrote it. Lou DeWitt, one of the Stattlers, wrote it. And he just wanted to write a song about a guy that was so lonesome, so lonely, that he would be sitting in a room counting the flowers on the wallpaper, counting flowers on the wall. And so that's where that he would play solitaire with a deck of 51. Doesn't even have enough cards. And so you can't go out, you can't win, you don't have enough cards. And somebody that's just that desperate and that lonely. And that's the song that he wrote.
That song, that's kind of what when I hear that, I hear a person dealing with depression, you know?
Yeah, it's real close to depression.
Effectively dealing with it.
A bouncy rhythm to it that kind of played against the lyric. But you break the lyric down as far as poetry, you know, it's pretty much a downer. But
it's not a downer, because the guy, I mean, I think he's effectively dealing with it. You know, I mean, he's like fighting it, and he's saying, hey, I mean, like right off the bat, he tells his friend, I'm fine. You know, I'm fine. You know? And so I love that song. And then, you know, I loved, was the first song that, I mean, obviously, when you're beating the Beatles and the Supremes, that's a monster, okay? But did Class of 57, did that just take you guys into a different level?
Yeah, lasted 70, got into that nostalgia period that was very early into that. But where we were writing about our own memories. And it got pretty personal with that song, as a matter of fact, some of the people we were writing about. And it created more music to come of that same ilk. And it did. It kind of got our feet stable into country field, and as did earlier Bed of Roses and some songs like that. So.
Bed of Roses, that was kind of a risky choice at the time, wasn't it?
You know, we first pitched that song to Kenny Rogers, and this is like 69. And Kenny was thinking of it. He kept it for a couple of months. And he gave it back. He said, guys, I'd love to record it. But Harold had written it. So I'd love to record it, but it kind of gets my image. I'm scared of it. And we thought, it's against our image too. We should be scared of it, but we weren't. So we went ahead and recorded it. But I can see why he didn't take it. Absolutely.
But then he had a hit with Ruby, you know? But I loved Bed of Roses. And I suppose, and this is me reading probably stuff into it that, and I know you probably have people ask you about lyrics and you go, well, I never thought of that. Yeah. It's funny to me that some of my books are in schools. You know, they're in school systems, and every now and then they'll send me somebody will send me some test or something that they took, and it's hilarious to me. I remember reading one from the Traveler's Gift, and it said what was the author, what was he trying to project? What was the symbolism when David Ponder walked into the bright room? And this poor kid had written, it's like 3 or 4 paragraphs about it. And I remember telling Polly and say, as God is my witness, when I wrote that, I just, he's walking into a room, it's got to be bright or dark. I just picked bright. And which makes me wonder if, Faulkner probably was like, yeah, well, I didn't write all this symbolism in it. But
Shakespeare would be shocked at what we have made of him, probably. He
probably.
Would say the same thing, analyzing all these lines and words, yeah.
But I think you guys, if there was somebody in a totally different genre that I would say it kind of epitomizes the Statlers to me, it would be Norman Rockwell. I look at some of what he did, and I think that, when you guys do Class of 57, when you do Do You Know You Are My Sunshine, when you did Do You Remember These, this is us, man.
That's a great compliment, and I thank you. We've had people say kind of like Norman Rockwell set the music. And even Kurt Vonnegut was a big fan. He used to come to a lot of our concerts. And he said to us, and he said this in one of his books, he said, Class of 57 should be the national anthem. And I'm not really sure what he meant by that. He wrote a lot of things I wasn't always sure what he meant. But it was nice to know that it had that kind of monumental appeal and effect on people, that the nostalgia and the Americana that we were writing. I'm touched by that today.
And this podcast, we're in 112 countries now, have listeners in 112 countries. And so as unlikely as it may be that somebody may not have heard some of these songs, you guys, you must, number one thing you got to do is you got to get the book. I want you to get this book, but then I also want you to go and listen to this music. And, the Class of 57, I understand why he said that, because I played that last night for my sister. I was over at their house, and I said, hey, I'm going to get to talk to Don tomorrow. And I said, listen to this. And we both sat there and thought, man, how true this is. The Class of 57 has dreams. We all thought we'd change the world, with
our great works and schemes.
With our great works and deeds. But things get complicated when you get past 18. The Class of 57 has dreams. Boy, that is multi-generational. That's not a theme that goes out of style.
Harold and I wrote that, and I have said, and I say it in the book also, we were given these words. These words were on loan to us. The Lord gave them to us. So we can't accept ownership. But I think probably that's two of the better lines that we ever wrote, is together or apart. If things get complicated when you get past 18, look at Class 57 at its dream. Because things do. And you don't know that until you get past 18, just how complicated things can get.
Right. It is amazing. My boys are 18 and 20 right now. And I know you got your boys right there with you. And it is amazing to look and know, hey, your guys are older, but, my guys, I look at them sometimes and I go, you can't possibly understand some of my feelings. You can't possibly, until you have a child of your own, you can't possibly understand how much you could love another human being. And you can't possibly understand how you can look back at yourself at 18 and think, wow, I mean, how many times?
Yeah.
Right. How many times in our lives did we think we knew, but find out later you didn't? Don, is there is there any song that you go, I wish we hadn't recorded that?
Yeah, I talk about that in the book too.
I hadn't gotten to that part.
Okay, there's a book in there there's a song in there that has to do with the drug scene. This would happened in the '60s, I guess, when the book was recorded. Early '70s. It is called "The Needle." It is a very well written song. It was done good, but it wasn't who we were, and I never felt like we probably should have been singing that. We were never into that, any kind of drugs or drinking songs. But for some reason we did that. And I thought, as well written as it was, I wish it hadn't been a part of our repertoire.
Yeah.
Right. You'll see.
Other than Daddy Sang Bass, is there one that you missed? Is there one that...
Do you want another story?
Yeah.
But me and Bobby McGee.
No way.
Oh, wait, I think it's the greatest country song ever written. Chris was in his early days, and he used to go to the hotel when we were practically living in Nashville doing the Cash TV show back in the 60s. And he'd sing all that new stuff he was writing. And we heard all that stuff, all those hits that he was writing before anybody else did. And he sang Bobby McGee to us one night. He said, "Chris, that's it. We want it." He said, "Okay, it's yours." A week later, we're back in town, and he comes knocking on the door. He said, "Guys, I got to tell you a little something." He said, "I got you drinking last weekend, and I gave that song to Roger Miller, and he's already cut it." And Roger knew it had to be done fast, and he'd already cut it to the cake. So, yeah, we lost that one too, but we recorded it again later on an album. But, so those things do get away from you.
Wow.
We held on to feeling.
What is your favorite song that you guys did? What song do you look at and you go, man, that... Because there's a lot of songs that I look at of yours and I think, that's a lifetime's work. That song right there, man, that's it. But what do you look at and you think, man, God put me on earth to write this one?
Holy. It's probably, Andy, not going to be a familiar hit. It's probably some
That's okay.
album. And I'm going to talk about it. It's from one of the later albums. Again, I talked there about it. It's called "More Like My Daddy Than Me." And it's about how, as you age, you get to becoming your parent, and you get to thinking of more like your parents, and you get to looking more like your daddy than you look like yourself when you look in the mirror, even, and the things that you think and the things that you say. And that was probably the one that I would have to say just kind of still is in my heart.
I got to listen to that. I was in Jackson, Alabama a few months ago, and my daddy has been dead 40 years. And I was standing in the Western Auto with a friend. My daddy's name was Larry. And I was standing in the Western Auto with a friend that owned the Western Auto. And this old man came in that I've never seen in my life. And so my friend's named Tom Henley. And we were standing there. And this old man walked in and just kind of walked by us. And he said, "Tom, Larry."
Okay. So
and I'm like,
that moment right there.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to hear that song. You guys did 40 albums. Is that a number that when you hit it, you said that's enough, or was it a time thing, or did you pre-plan the retirement?
We pre-planned it by a couple of years. We knew that we were going to do it. But we decided that we would tell people a year ahead of time. We'd let it be known publicly so that anybody wanted to come, they could come see a show and come see us and say goodbye. So
Well, they did. I wasn't there, but I watched the video of that farewell concert. Just unbelievable. I talked to Bill and Gloria Gaither quite often, and they wrote the foreword to this book, and they are just such great admirers of yours too. So
they're great people. I love them both personally and professionally. They've done things with gospel music, Southern gospel, that needed to be done for so many years. They brought a certain class to it and broadened the whole field.
Okay, I got one more odd question, and
All right.
and that is, since you've retired, have you heard a song that you thought, "Dad gummit, I wish we'd have gotten a hold of that one."
I can't really name one, but it does happen. And I even hear songs I think, man, I should have written that because that's such a great idea. I wish I'd have done that. I wish I'd written it. If we'd have been around, we would have recorded that. Can't right off the top of my head think of one, but it does happen to you.
How many years did your television show go?
7 years.
7 years. I was a guest on that. I remember that. And so, buddy, I can't urge people enough. The Statler Brothers, an anthology. This is the definitive work. And if you ever thought you might want to write a song, if you ever thought you liked music, if you ever thought you were interested in what, the thought process, I mean, it's the best book. People ask me about books on writing all the time. And this book captures not just how you found the words, but how you found the moods, how you work together, with Harold or with Lou or Jimmy. It's amazing to me, and it's a book worth having. It's a book worth giving, and I really urge people to get a hold of this.
You're a good man and a good friend for saying all that. I appreciate those kind words, and certainly I understand why people ask you about writing, because you have had a stack of books that you have written, and I've got every one of them. And I'm so you have what you do on stage and how you put it in on the pages, and you've mastered so many fields of comedy and just write out good entertainment, and the serious books you've written too.
Well, you're kind, and Don, thank you for taking the time to do this. I am honored, truly honored, to call you my friend.
As it right back to you, pal. Thank you, Andy. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. Hey, quick question. Where do you seek wisdom? Allow me to suggest wisdomharbor.com. That's wisdom, Harbor. O-U-R. It's not mine, it's ours. So go there now and get your free 5-minute guided tour, and then get your free 30 days, okay? Become a member of Wisdom Harbor. Do it for your family, your business, and your schools. wisdomharbor.com. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing the mental energy I have, tiny bit, oh it is, for you. Seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, smile while you talk. Don't breathe anybody else's air. Keep your mask on, but make sure you have a positive answer to the question, how's it going? And so, until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme, written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Exotic leather-bound journals provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by YouBoughtJustBeforeTheUpgrade.com. At YouBoughtJustBeforeTheUpgrade.com, we're buying back all the products you bought, only to find out if you'd have waited a little longer, you could have had the bigger, better, belled and whistled item for the same price. Have you ever found yourself walking out of the Apple store with that fancy new phone, or maybe that groovy new watch, but as you walked into your home ready to show off your shiny new gadget, your kid comes running down the hallway saying, "They just released the newer one." Now you're left wondering what to do. We've seen it over and over again. But at YouBoughtJustBeforeTheUpgrade.com, we'll buy back all your seemingly useless junk for a fraction of the price. Now you can head back to that store and reclaim that feeling of being on the cutting edge. Just make sure you stop somewhere on your way home today. With luck, you can just miss the upgrade again. That's YouBoughtJustBeforeTheUpgrade.com.